Gittin Daf Mem Ches concludes the fourth parak of the Masechta Perek HaShalech, about halfway through the daf, and begins the fifth parak Hanizokin. The end of the fourth parak discusses the machlokes between Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish about bringing bikurim and saying the parsha of bikurim for someone who has bought the land during the time when there is yovel, and therefore he doesn't really own the land, he just has usage of it until yovel. Tomorrow we'll bring a couple of proofs to that machlokes, and then we'll begin the fifth parak, which discusses what type of land, what quality of land you get for various different monetary obligations that you're owed. So let's begin. The Gemara is quoted in Machlokes of Yochanan and Reish Lakish about somebody who bought only the usage of land, only the fruits of the land. And now the Gemara added another Machlokes, very similar. Same machlokes really if he buys land at a time when there is yovel, and therefore whoever buys it doesn't really get to keep it, doesn't really own the body of the land. He just owns the usage of it until yovel because he has to give it back at yovel. So Rav Yochanan says it's considered like he owns it, even though he only owns the fruits, and therefore he does say the parsha of Bikurim where he says Ha'adam asher nasata li, the land which you have given me, because it is given to him. He owns the fruits, and it's like he owns the land. Reish Lakish says he cannot say the parsha of Bikurim because he cannot say you've given to me because he only has the usage of it. Someone wants to bring a number of proofs. It's going to be difficult to bring a proof because you have to prove you're not really going to know in the rest that you quote if you're talking during a time when there is yovel or there isn't yovel. So the first proof is from a Mishnah that says somebody who purchases a tree and the land around it brings bikurim and says the parsha. So Gemara says, so you say the parsha even though you have to give it back at yovel. Gemara answers, no, we're talking about where there is no yovel, and therefore he has full purchase and he keeps it forever. Gemara brings another proof and we'll have the same answer. This brisa says somebody who purchases two trees in a field does not get land along with it, and therefore he doesn't read the parsha of Bikurim. Somebody who buys three trees in a field, he does get land along with it, and therefore the implication is that he reads the parsha. And why would he read the parsha again if he has to give it back at yovel? The Gemara answers again, we're talking about there is no yovel. The Gemara points out that actually there's two types of yovel. It was the first yovel Klal Yisrael ever had, and then there's from the second and on. From the first yovel, people weren't used to the concept of yovel, and therefore they felt like they were purchasing the land for good. And Rav Chizda said, in that case, there is no machlokes. In the first yovel, Reish Lakish agreed to Rav Yochanan that people felt like they put the land forever, and therefore they could say the parsha. Machlokes is only in the second yovel where there was people understood you're only purchasing the land for a short time. So you could therefore answer the question another way. You could say that this Mishnah is talking about during the first yovel before they ever kept yovel, and therefore people thought they were purchasing the body of the land, and therefore Reish Lakish agrees that you would say the parsha. Gemara now wants to suggest that the machlokes between Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish, which is about whether owning the peiros is considered to be owning the body of the land itself, that's actually a machlokes tanaim. And the Gemara is going to bring from a machlokes 2 against 1 machlokes tanaim in the halachos of the geula of a stay achuza and a stay miknes. So let's explain the terms here. If a person is makdish land and then yovel comes, what happens to the land? So the Torah tells us it depends how he owned that land. If it was his inheritance, that was his family's inheritance from the chalukas haaretz, the division of the land of Eretz Yisrael, and he's makdish and he does not redeem it. So the halacha is that when yovel comes, it doesn't go back to him. It goes to hektish. Meaning what happens is as follows. He inherited this land. It's his family's inheritance. He is makdish it. He gives it over to hektish. The caretakers of hektish sell it to someone. They sell the land and they take the money. Now, the person who sold it to hektish, who was makdish it, doesn't redeem it. When yovel arrives, the land goes back from the purchaser to hektish. It does not go back to the original owner, and it leaves his family forever. It goes to hektish, and hektish will then distribute it amongst the kahanim. That's if it's a stay achuza. If it's a stay mikneh, that means it's a field that the person bought, was not his family's inheritance, he purchased, and then he's makdish it. So then when yovel comes, even if the caretakers of hektish have sold that land, meaning it was the person who bought it, was makdish it, caretaker sold it, and it was not redeemed, then when a yovel comes, it goes back to the original family that owned it. So again, the difference between a stay achuza and a stay mikneh, a stay achuza, if it's not redeemed, goes to kahanim. A stay mikneh, if it's not redeemed, goes back to the original owner. So you have to know what is the definition, what type of land is a stay achuza or a stay mikneh. Now there's an interesting case. Somebody purchased land from his father, and then his father died, and he inherited that same land. Is this a stay mikneh or a stay achuza? So if the person was makdish, does it count as a stay mikne, and therefore it goes back to the original owner, to his father, and therefore to him as inheritance, or does it count as a stay achuza, and therefore it goes to kahanim once the Evel arrives? So the Gemara has two possibilities within this scenario. When was he makdish? Was he makdish before his father died or after his father died? Now, if he was makdish after his father died, that means that he already inherited it by the time he was makdish. So the Gemara quotes there, if everyone in this Mishnah agrees that that is considered to be a stay achuza. It was already an achuza by the time he was makdish. And the Gemara quotes for Yehuda, Rav Shimon, Rav Meir, all agree that that is a stay achuza, and therefore it goes to the kahanim if it's not redeemed by the time the Evel arrives. Now, if, however, he bought it first, he bought it, and then he was makdish it, and then his father died, so he was makdish it while it was a purchase, and then he inherited it, there you have a machlekes. There, Rav Yehuda and Rav Shimon say it counts as a stay achuza, even though he bought it, because he inherited it later. And Rav Meir says, no, this counts as a stay mikneh, and it's different. It's not, you don't view it as a inheritance. Now, they all have their source from the same pasuk. There's an extra pasuk when it describes the difference between a stay mikneh and a stay achuza. The Torah says, im stay miknasai, asher loy mi stay achuza. That if it's a field which is bought, that was not inherited. What? It's extra words. What I have to say was, if it was bought, it wasn't inherited. You have to say something which was not fitting to be inherited, something you bought which you can never have inherited. If it's something which you would have inherited anyway, Salacha doesn't apply. So the question is, that extra pasuk, what's it referring to? So the Gemara wants to say the explanation of the Chalkis is as follows. Rabbi Meir says, Kinyan HaPeiros is Kinyan HaGuf. So in the case where he first, where the father had died before he was makdish, so the inheritance was nothing. It was meaningless. Once he bought it, he had full ownership of the land, Kinyan HaPeiros, Kinyan HaGuf. Then the father died, the inheritance added nothing. So therefore you wouldn't know that becomes a stay achuza. The inheritance did no effect. So this pasuk has to be talking about that case. You need it for this case. Otherwise, how would I know that this is called a stay achuza? And therefore the pasuk is talking about this case. In the case, however, which is the bigger chiddush, which is that he was makdish before he inherited, you can't use the pasuk for that. Now, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon disagree, and they say no. When he bought it, he only had Kinyan HaPeiros. Kinyan HaPeiros lav Kinyan HaGuf. When the father dies, if he wasn't makdish yet, then the son inherits it. Now it's clearly a stay achuza. I don't need a pasuk to tell me that this is now counts as a stay achuza if he goes and he's makdish it. So the pasuk must be talking about where he was makdish it first, then the father died and he inherited it. Therefore, at the time that he was makdish it was a stay mikneh. And that still has the halachos of a stay achuza because he's going to inherit it later. So therefore, the Gemara wants to boil it down to some halachos between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon against Rabbi Meir, whether Kinyan HaPeiros is Kinyan HaGuf or not, which is exactly our sugya. The Gemara answers, no, this is not the pshat in the machlekes at all. Really, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon agree to Rabbi Meir that you need a pasuk even for a situation where the father died first, he was yerushet, and then he was makdish. They agree Kinyan HaPeiros is Kinyan HaGuf, and therefore there's no chiddush there, could be, and therefore they agree you need a pasuk there. The reason that they say that both that case and the case where he was makdish first, that both count as a stay achuz, is because they have two psukim. The pasuk which we're using says v'im stay miknasei asher lo mistei achuzoi. So the whole phrase asher lo mistei achuzoi is extra, and the word mistei is extra. You could have said asher lo achuzah, so that would be extra. I don't have to say that it's not his inheritance. To say asher lo misidei achuzah is another extra thing. So therefore, you have two sources, and that's why they say both psukim. Now, says the Gemara, Rav Yechanan has to hold that the Kinyan HaPeiros is Kinyan HaGuf, because otherwise he has a big problem, because of a different sheet that he holds. So Rav Yechanan holds that when two brothers split up a Yerusha, it's like they bought their half from the other one. They each own the entire Yerusha entirely, and when they divide it, each one is exchanging his half for the other one's half. And it's like they bought from each other. And therefore, when Yevil comes, they have to return it. The entire Yerusha, the estate, gets reunified, and they have to split it again. If that's the case, and then if he would have held that Kinyan HaPeiros is after Kinyan HaGuf, it turns out that anybody who ever inherited, if he had a brother, only owns Kinyan HaGuf, only owns Kinyan HaPeiros, and not Kinyan HaGuf, and therefore he doesn't have to bring Bikurim. The only situation where you would have anybody bringing Bikurim is a single son, an only son, descended from an only son, all the way back to the original Chalukas Haaretz. that way, and there's no returning at Yovel. That is obviously a very difficult thing to hold, and therefore Rabbi Yochanan has to hold that Kinyan HaPeiros is Kinyan HaGuf, and you can bring Bikurim even if you're only a purchaser, even in the times of Yovel. Now, wrapping up the Masechta, the Gemara notes that there is a pasuk and a brisa that seems to support Reish Lakish that Kinyan HaPeiros is not Kinyan HaGuf. The pasuk, in describing somebody who buys land by Yovel, the pasuk says he's not really buying the land; he's buying the years of crops. That means he's only buying Kinyan HaPeiros. The pasuk seems to be describing any purchase in the time of Yovel as not a Kinyan HaGuf, not buying the land. The brisa, that's the brisa that says that a Bechor gets a double portion in land which returns during Yovel. Now, the halacha of a Bechor is that he only gets a double portion of something which was existing in his father's estate at the time that he died, that's divided. Something which was owed, he does not get a double portion of. Now, if you're going to view the land as being Kinyan HaPeiros Kinyan HaGuf, like Yochanan says, then it doesn't belong to the estate. It belongs to the person who bought it, and he has to give it back. That's something which is owed. Then the Bechor should not get a double portion of that. The fact that the Bechor gets a double portion indicates that the body still, the Guf HaKarka belonged to the father's estate at the time of the death, even before Yovel. And Yovel, all he gave back was the Peiros. And therefore, he will get a double portion of the land, which the Guf of the land still was part of the estate. On the same topic, the Marco Tzabai, who says that if a husband wants to go to court on his wife's behalf for her land, for her nichsei milog, he needs a power of attorney. She has to appoint him legally to represent her, because otherwise the person that she's litigating against could say, I'm not talking to your husband. He is not my litigant here. I have nothing against him. My case is against you. He owns the peiros of this land. He doesn't own the guf of the land. I don't have to talk to him. That also indicates that the peiros is not Kinyan HaGuf, because the husband owns the peiros in his wife's land. If that would be Kinyan HaGuf, then the person that they're in a court case with couldn't say that. Now, says Gemara, that's only true, though, if their case is not over the peiros. If the case is over the peiros, then the husband is certainly, as the owner of the peiros, certainly has a stake. He has a standing in this case. Once he has a standing on the peiros, he also has a standing on the guf of the karka itself. Now, this concludes the fourth parak of the Masechta. Now we begin the fifth parak, parak Hanazakin. So we begin with the Mishnah, which discusses what quality of land you have to pay for three different types of chayvus. Now, land is all divided into three groups. You have what's called idis, what's called beinunis, and what's called ziburis. And this is talking about the quality of the land. Obviously, high quality land, which is what we call idis, has high value for a smaller amount of land. Beinunis is average, is the middle, and ziburis is very cheap, low quality land. You could get the same dollar amount for each type of land. You would just need more land of lower quality to reach the same dollar amount. So you definitely have to pay the dollar amount. But however, people prefer less high quality land rather than more low quality. And they always prefer quality over quantity just because of the ease of being able to sell and care for a land like that, even though the valuation is exactly the same. So which type of land do you pay? Do you have to pay with? So assuming there's no issues of shibud or taking things away from the people who bought it and with a lien on it, so the halacha is that somebody who's collecting for damages that are called for him, that's what we call a nizik. A nizik takes high land, he takes the idis. Somebody who is collecting a loan that he lent money, so we call bal chayiv, he collects middle land, beinunis. And a woman is collecting her ksuba, she collects from ziburis. Rameir disagrees on that. Rameir says ksuba also gets the beinunis. Now the Gemara is going to say this is all mipnei tikkun olam. Now, all this is true if there's no lien, if there's no shibud. If, however, some of the land was sold, and some of the land of the person who owes is still there, he hasn't sold all his land. So then you always take the free unsold land before you start collecting your lien. If somebody bought the land with a lien on it, before you take that land away from him, you always have to take from what's available, even if it's not your level. So even if you're a nizik, you should be taking idis, and all that's left is ziburis, you can't go to the idis that belongs to someone who purchased it from the person who was there. You have to first take the free land that's not sold. Now, some other things we can't collect over here. You can't collect from property of orphans. That's if a father owes you money and then he died, the orphans inherit the estate. You can't take idis and beinunis from the orphans. Everybody gets third level ziburis. Now, if somebody wants to get reimbursed for fruits and for expenses that he put into land. This case is as follows. Reuven stole a piece of land from Shimon, and then Reuven sold that land to Levi. Levi invested in the land. He planted it, he improved it, he grew crops. Then along came Shimon, and he claimed his land back, and he took his land away from Levi. So Shimon rightfully got back his land. He gets the land with everything that's on it. The only expenses that he has to pay Levi are Levi's actual expenses, the actual money that he put into it, because that's what he gets from it. However, the things that he could have had from it, the fruits that were on it, if Levi wants to get that, he has to go collect that from the person who sold it to him, has to go collect it from Reuven. And he could collect that from Reuven. Those collections, both the fruits that grew in the field that he lost, as well as the investments that he put into it to improve the quality of the land, all that you only take from free land, not from land that has been sold. You cannot take it away from a purchaser, even though there's a lien on it. You can't take it away. You can only take free land. Same is true if a man had died and his wife is collecting money for support, or the daughters are collecting money for support from the estate. It's also only free land and not land that has been sold. Cannot take that either. The Gemara is going to explain this is all mipnei tikkun ha'olam. Now, somebody who finds lost property and he returns it, and the person who is getting it back says, this is not all of it, you're keeping some for yourself. So again, the Mishnah says he does not swear, and this is also mipnei tikkun ha'olam. Okay, the Gemara begins, the Gemara analyzes the halacha that a nizik, the one who was damaged, collects from the highest quality of land. So the Gemara asks, how can the Mishnah say that that's a tikkun ha'olam, which sounds like it's derabbanan? B'sechas b'bakam, we have a drasha. The pasuk says, "Meitav sadeu, meitav karmi yishalem." The damager, the mazik, has to pay straight out from his top quality land. So, what do we tell me that's tikkun ha'olam? So Gemara answers, Abaye answers, there's different ways of paying idis, of paying top quality land, and this is Rabbi Shmuel's opinion that makes him pay in the more strict of the two. What are the two ways? So the question is, whose land do we go by? When we say that the mazik, the damager, has to pay from top quality land, that means he has to take his top quality land, or it means he has to take his land, which is equal to the top quality of the nizik, the one who he damaged. Is that what it means? Now, according to Rabbi Yishmael, midoiraisa, he could get away with paying the top quality of the nizik. The victim, the nizik, his land might be worth only his land. His top quality land might be only as good as the mazik's lowest quality land. So he's really giving away his lowest quality land. He doesn't have to give any top quality. That would be the halacha d'oraisa. Comes Rabbi Shmuel and says, "Mipnei tikkun ha'olam," he has to give his own top quality land, which is far and above anything that the mazik has. He should have been able to give his lowest quality land because it's equal to the nizik's best land, and the tikkun ha'olam has to give his best land. Now, the Gemara quotes this machlokes outright, and we get into this more deeply. So, the Gemara quotes a brisa. The Torah says, "Meitav seyu, meitav karmi yishalem." You have to pay from the best land. Whose best land? Rabbi Shmuel says the best land of the nizik. And Rabbi Kiva says that the Torah here means that you just have to pay the best land. It doesn't matter the best land of the nizik, best land of the mazik. It's just telling me the halacha of the best land, not telling you anything special. According to Rabbi Shmuel, it's telling you something special. It's telling you that you go by the nizik's best land. Now, simple understanding of the brisa, we don't know what we just said before, that we're talking about where the mazik's best land, where the mazik's worst land is equal to the nizik's best land. That we're going to get to soon. The Gemara now first understands that what Rabbi Shmuel means is that you always have to pay the nizik's best land. You have to look at the best land that the nizik owns, and that's what you have to pay. So Gemara says, how does that make sense? You should pay whatever land you damaged. If you, let's say you set the guy's field on fire, so whatever field you destroyed, that's what you pay back. That's the quality that you pay. Why would I have to pay the top land that he owns? So the Gemara is therefore asking, we don't understand what Rabbi Shmuel means. So the Gemara says, no, we're talking about where we destroyed some land, and we don't know what was the level of land that he has. He has all three levels. We don't know what it was. We don't know what he should pay. And therefore we say, you got to pay the highest level. So Gemara asks, that doesn't make sense. Why should that be? He destroyed one of 3 levels. I don't know which one it is. The one who's claiming the burden of proof is on him. You want to get highest level. You have to prove that that's what you lost. So therefore the Gemara comes with our explanation. The Gemara says, no, this is to tell me that in a case where the lowest level quality of the mazik is equal to the highest level quality of the nizik, you don't get away with giving your lowest quality with your lowest quality because it's equal to the nizik's highest level. You have to give your own highest level. That's what Rabbi Shmuel's Chiddush is. Rabbi Kiva disagrees, and Gemara will get into why that should be true on the next daf.